Is it just me? Am I the only one that gets super excited about photography in autumn? I'm really looking forward to this year. I've got it all planned. I've got a load of locations in mind to do. Hit the subscribe button and stick around for them. I really do love autumn. Yet every year I feel like I miss out on autumn. Not this year. I've got some plans. It's happening. In this video, I headed up to Snowdonia. I was there for the very first day of autumn. I was commissioned by a gentleman called Steve, who asked me if I would. Steve watches the channel and asked if I could go up there and give him some tips on improving his landscape photography and helping him understand filters. So that was fantastic. Super excited to do that. We were supposed to be there a couple of days camping and stuff like that. But before we get into the video, I just wanted to point out that the walk that we did is actually in this book. Now, this is a book by Nick Livesey, photographing the Snowdonia mountains. It's a really handy book. I use it quite a lot. It's got some fantastic routes and stuff in there. So if you're looking at exploring Snowdonia, there's some amazing routes and walks and whatnot in there. Some good information. Do check that out. I'll put the details for that in the description below. So yeah, thanks, Nick. I actually met up with Nick a couple of days after as well, so hopefully there'll be a video with Nick as well. So yeah, really good to meet up with Nick. Also, if you're into street photography, check out F8 Street Magazine. My own magazine I've just launched. This is issue 1, and it features interviews and tips and stories from different street photographers all around the world. Yeah, all part of a community, so feel free to jump over to F8 magazine, have a look at that and let me know what you think. Super proud of that. So yeah, we'll jump into the video now. Apologies for the Osmo footage. It doesn't handle low light particularly well, and the weather was forecast to be horrendous, so I do apologize for that, and we'll see you after the video. Flipping out, you wouldn't believe this. Check this out. Slippy. Oh wow. How stunning! How stunning!
Oh, it is. I mean, you want to see it when it's rushing down. I mean, it's like this all the way down for another half mile.
Where are we, Steve?
This is Aberglaslyn.
Aberglaslyn. On the edge of Beddgelert, yep, in Snowdonia. And I couldn't be happier. The fact that I'm in Snowdonia is always enough. I absolutely love the place, but to get here at the beginning of autumn, I could not be happier. And we've not really had any strong wind. So the trees are looking amazing, loads of starting to see some full autumn colour. Yeah, super, and it's dry, and there's no, yeah, it's just perfect. I'm super excited. So I'm doing a walk with Steve. Steve commissioned me, Steve lives in sort of North Wales in Mould, commissioned me to come down and help him, step down here, help him up his game with filters and stuff for his landscape photography. So I've, excuse me, 1 minute, back now. So yeah, we've come down here. We're going to do a wall camp tonight, depending on the weather as to where we go with that. And yeah, we're just going to do a full day 8-mile walk around Aberglaslyn, and it's going to be awesome. So yeah, we'll see you in a minute. Before I say anything, I've got to say, you are worse than me for talking to everyone on the way down here.
I'll stop.
Not at all, it's good. And I was saying earlier, walkie outdoors people are fantastic anyway, aren't they? So you can have a good laugh, and it encourages you to get outside, and especially with people like you. Morning, how are you? What do you reckon? Potential photograph?
Yeah. Down low?
Yeah, it'd have to be low to get them trees in, but we've had a bit of a steep drop to come down here, and there's just a road there, so it's probably the other side of where we are might be better. We can't walk in too far into this water because it's obviously going to be a bit dangerous, but this could be a really long video because the whole walk has been so pretty. And look at this place. So we're going to try and pick out a detailed shot, see if we can find a slow shutter with the water moving over a rock. We shall see. And I'm a bit annoyed because the only autumn colour is on that tree there. There's no autumn colour throughout the whole scene other than that tree there. So a bit devastating, but there we are. We'll do what we got. We'll work with what we got. We've got a shot. We have got a shot. We've had to cheat a little bit because that scene is amazing. but it was difficult to find a composition without getting right in the water. And obviously we've got a hell of a hike ahead of us, so we keep our feet dry as possible. So right here on the edge, let's Steve playing with the composition, just see if we can tweak it a little bit. But fundamentally, we've got this amazing gathering of water in the foreground. We've gone for a really wide shot, so a 10mm on the Fuji, which is about 16mm full frame. And focus stacking, because it's straight, literally half a metre in front of the camera. So the detail is phenomenal. So shutter speed wise, about half a second was about right, because there's so much motion in the water. I didn't want too long an exposure, so we lose that detail. So literally just the polarizer, f11, keeping it on the histogram. ISO is about 200, and we've focus stacked the rocks in front of us and infinity there on the background. We've also done a pano shot as well, so lifted the camera up vertically, try and get those trees in. It's probably going to be a case that we crop those trees off, but there's some fantastic mist there, and it's really atmospheric. And although if we go landscape, we get that tree in over there, so that's really, really nice to get that yellow detail. Not sure whether or not that'll end up in the final image, because the really nice atmosphere is almost a portrait shot in that direction. So by taking the vertical panoramic, so shot there, shot there, shot there, we've got the option then to crop vertical or crop landscape. It's quite a difficult shot, obviously all relying on the polarizer to get the slower shutter. We didn't need an ND8. Happy with it? Happy. And the tripod hasn't fallen in the water because it keeps slipping on these rocks. It's really slippy. I was saying to Steve, before I set up a shot like this, I always try and handheld the shot, even if it comes out blurry because you need a tripod, just to fine tune the composition, because once you've got the tripod down, it's really difficult to perfect the composition because you're kind of restricted with the tripod. So the IBIS and the XT4 has been really helpful for that. But yeah, nice sharp shot on the tripod now. It's going to be amazing. Really, really pleased with this image. You keep saying you've seen Elvis in the photograph. I'm worried about you, Steve.
Yeah, I've always done that. To the river, and there it is up there, sorry. Drop down to there. This is the one right there. 10 seconds. Once upon a time, there was two dragons, a red one and a white one. The red one fought the white one, and the red one won, and the Welsh people said, we'll have the red one. Hooray!
And this is where it was.
That's it, just over there.
That's where it happened.
That's it. And then Waterfall, that's the place there where the King Waterfall was, etc.
True story.
True story. Yeah, I was there.
You were
I
there.
saw it. What do you think of the weather so far?
Okay, so the weather turned dreadful. Unfortunately, that meant we couldn't wild camp that evening like we'd planned. So we stayed in a bunkhouse and found our way then to Coedfelin Reed, a stunning rainforest the following day. Being in a rainforest at the beginning of autumn was so exciting. We were looking for autumn colour everywhere, and we got so excited when we seen this phenomenal log, loads of moss on it, and these gorgeous mushrooms. Now we were taking a portrait shot here. We were focus stacking the image, so we were taking 3 or 4 focus stacked images because the camera was so close to the foreground, and then we're using our finger to take a photograph with our finger in the scene just to indicate where the next photograph was going to be focused. Now we'd actually take 3 or 4 different compositions here, focus stacking, but I actually think I prefer the image with the background slightly softer. So we had intended on having a sharp front to back image, but just having the front 2 images sharp on the foreground there really worked, leaving the background soft, which exaggerated the mist in the trees in the background. I was really pleased with this image, and Steve was too. Our third and final location took us to one of my favourite views in Snowdonia, the Penyrolwyn Falls. So that's Penyrolwyn Mountain that we're kind of standing on the side of, looking down to Tryfan, and I believe the river is called the Avon Cloy, which is absolutely beautiful. It's got this amazing waterfall, which is a very popular spot for photographers, but it just meant that at 3 o'clock in the afternoon we could come down, put the filters on and experiment with what the different grads would do over the sky, because of course at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, tremendous dynamic range in the sky. So it was a really, really good opportunity for Steve to handheld the camera, experiment with different shutter speeds to get the motion in the water, and then once we got the composition right, we were putting the tripod down then and experimenting with the filters. We did a bit more focus stacking, a bit more focusing on Triffon, and then again on the foreground on the rock. But what happened is I think we ended up preferring the images that we got handheld, portrait, and leaning a lot more over the waterfall. So we did quite a lot of experimenting in this location, and if you hang on, there is a bit of a treat flying by soon as well. So what an amazing location, and yeah, really, really pleased with this image.
What an amazing trip. Really, really enjoyed. Thank you so much, Steve, for having me up there. It was amazing, amazing couple of days. He had me laughing, felt like every minute of every hour of every day. Really, really good character. And we got some great pictures. So on a workshop to come away with some good photographs, that's putting yourself under pressure, isn't it? But yeah, we're thrilled with the pictures. I know Steve's very, very happy with them as well. So do let me know which of the three. We took quite a few, but I think what happened was Steve had a few ideas of what he wanted to get from the workshop. So we wanted to obviously fundamentally work out how you can find a composition. So the first thing was just to walk around a few different locations and try and see what draws you to a shot. The second thing was he wanted to understand filters. Not very confident with filters, so we explained when you should use a filter, when you shouldn't use a filter, what the pros and cons of a filter are, because obviously there's some drawbacks to filters. They can be permanently destructive to an image, and obviously things to be aware of, what to look forward to. Is there ever times then you can avoid using a filter, because sometimes it's better to try and use dynamic range in the camera, or just to understand when, like on a blue sky, if you've got using a polarizer, things to be aware of. So with filters, they're very, very powerful. Polarizers in particular, get rid of glare and stuff like that, help you slow down water, but they can also be very destructive as well. So yeah, very, very key to understand the pros and cons for using filters. The other thing we wanted to discuss was getting to know your camera. I think that's crucial with any type of photography. When I do my street photography workshops, a lot of things I teach people is to be confident with their camera, with their camera settings, and have complete faith that that everything, that they know the limits, they know the strengths and weaknesses of their camera and the lenses, and they know what they can get out of it. So we also discussed the ability to, or how important it is, should I say, to actually look for a scene, look for a composition without even having your camera in your hand. So a good idea is to look at a composition, think, is it going to work? Where would the top of the frame be? Where would the bottom of the frame be? Would it be a wide angle lens? If you're near water, would it be a slow shutter? What sort of aperture would you need? Would you need to focus stack? Would you need a filter? Would you need a polarizer? Could you get away with doing it handheld if you've got IBIS? Things like that. So it's not always about taking a photograph with the camera in your hand. It's sometimes just a case of standing there, looking at it, looking around the scene, thinking, is this going to work? So if you've got the luxury of time and you've got your camera in your back, it's a good idea just to sort of sit there for a few seconds and just take it all in and think, from there to there, and that sort of width, and with the slow shutter. And then by the time you've got your camera out, you're not all fingers and thumbs then trying to think what shutter speed shall I use, what aperture shall I use, because you've done all that, you've done all the legwork before. So that was something we spoke quite a lot about, was just to look at a composition before even touching the camera, think what lens we're going to need. Are we going to try and compress the scene? Are we going to try and have a wide angle and add lots of depth to the scene? What is it we're trying to achieve? And a lot of that, I think, people try and do when they've got the camera in their hand, and they're not sure exactly what they're trying to do then, because it's too late. If you put the tripod down, that was another thing we spoke about, is trying to take photographs, even if it's the wrong shutter speed. Just take handheld shots to get the composition right, and then once you've got your composition right and you've spent some time looking at it, thinking, what do I like, what don't I like, is there anything I can eliminate from the photograph, I'm using the right lens, then get the tripod in the right position, because the tripods can be really limiting as far as, like, once you've got your tripod down, it's difficult to move them around sometimes. So yeah, that was another thing. We just thought, well, okay, just slow down, even if we're not using the right shutter speed for the water, just get the composition right, and then we can get the tripod, and then we can faff around with the filters and stuff afterwards. But once you balance the shot, I think it was crucial that you've you're seeing the photograph first. You've got an idea of what you're pre-visualizing, crucially, what you're trying to achieve, and that was a big thing. The other thing that Steve wanted to pick up on was editing. We did a Zoom call afterwards, so we shared my screen and we went through these 3 or 4 images. We had a few images we went through, and I think 50% of an image is in the editing. So as good as your photograph could be in camera, it's nice to get it obviously right in camera and get it all balanced and get the exposure right and get the color balance right and everything, and get all the filters doing as much as they can. But then when you come back, you've got to have an idea of what it is you're trying to achieve. And with Lightroom, obviously there's lots of things you can do with Capture One, Lightroom, and all the different affinity and all these different things. But I think you can ruin a really good image as well as make a good image just in editing. So what we did is we slowed down. We were trying to visualize what we're going to try and achieve. We were trying to look at what the sliders were going to do. Again, just trying to pre-visualize what it is. Even things down to colors. We were using classic chrome for Fuji because we wanted the sort of soft colors and soft desaturated colors and things like that. So yeah, just pre-visualizing the end as well. So I think editing is something that definitely you benefit from the workshop as well. So yeah, really pleased with the images. And as I say, there's a bit of a treat at the end of the video as well, so do stick around for that. Let me know which of the images you think work best. I really like the middle one. I like it because, as I said in the video, we had intended on doing 3 or 4 focus stacked, so we'd have 2 in the foreground because it was so close, it's like this far away from the lens. So one about 0.5 meter, one about 1.5 meters, one about 3 meters, then one at infinity. But for me, when we were editing them, initially we focus stacked all of the images, and I just felt it was too over sharp, too cluttered. And just by having the softer background and just the sharp foreground images, I really liked it. And it, obviously having the mist in the background, I definitely think it added that having the softness in the background basically helped that mist. So yeah, really pleased. And I love that we got the Triffin shot handheld as well. Really pleased with that. 2-second timer, 1/8 of a second. And yeah, really pleased with that as well. And you can see the sky there where the graduated filters sort of pull back the detail in the clouds. So yeah, really pleased. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know which of the photographs you enjoyed, and yeah, do check out the F8 magazine, and I'll put a link in the description. And Nick Livesey's book as well. So thank you so much for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. I'll see you again soon.
Loop the loop. Oh wow. Best. Wow. Another one. Whoa. Best place in the world.